Okay, so what I want to talk to you today is one of the most important things I think there is to video, and it's something that is extremely obvious to people who use cameras every single day, but might not be so obvious to more casual users of cameras, particularly those who have just received an action camera for Christmas this year. Now, in my chosen sport of whitewater kayaking, I know there's a lot of people who have action cameras and they go on the river and they record a lot of footage and then it never sees the light of day. In fact, they can't be bothered to even look at it because they think there's so much footage, it's just too much effort to go through it, and they certainly don't like the idea of editing it. So what happens is they go out time and time again and record the trip, but then nobody else sees this footage. It just never sees the light of day. So why is that? A lot of it is down to expectation. You know, we're sold a lot of the idea of taking an action camera out and filming our adventures, but what isn't sold is the fact that we actually have to make an effort to edit it together. But do we? So for much more casual users of cameras, people who don't want to get into the technical nitty-gritty of editing, this video is for you. So what am I talking about here? The primary thing is purpose. Whenever we shoot a video, there has to be a purpose to that. And that goes for me and any other professional creator just as much as it does for you as somebody who wants to casually capture their adventures and adventures with friends. If I go out kayaking and I take my action camera with me and I don't have a purpose in mind, an idea of what I want to do with this footage later, then I'm going to be in just as much as a predicament as any other person who doesn't like editing. There needs to be a purpose because I need to have an idea of what I'm going to shoot. I need to know in my head what I want to show at the end of it. Now, one of the things that happens when people who are not experienced in using cameras and are not experienced in editing do is they use the action camera and they film for a very long time, and so this creates a problem because they have often hours of footage to go through, and I can fully understand why you don't want to sift through that. It's not an enjoyable experience. So the thing with purpose is to understand that you don't necessarily have to be editing a long video at the end of the day. Purpose is simply about having in mind what you want to film, and that can be anything from a rapid that you've put off doing in the past and you just want to capture that. You don't have to worry about the rest of the day. You can just capture that rapid in POV or get one of your friends to video you running that rapid, and that's that. You don't have to worry about anything else. And the same goes for mountain biking or climbing or any other action sport. As long as you have that singular purpose in mind, then you don't have to worry so much about the editing, because these days on YouTube and on Instagram, it really isn't so much about the length of the video or a fancy edit. It can just be about the single clip, and that's something to bear in mind because it's very important when you're worrying about capturing every moment. You don't have to capture every moment. You only have to capture the moments that you have in mind, and that's purpose. If you're going on a longer kayaking trip or you're doing a longer day mountain biking across a longer trail or a route that you've got planned across a mountain range or whatever, you know, if you put a purpose in mind, not just I'm going to film this trip, but maybe you focus it a bit more. Maybe you say I'm going to concentrate on my friends' reactions. Maybe I'm going to film my friends more than I'm going to get POV of my own mountain biking. That can give you a much better purpose in things and focus your mind a little bit more, and therefore you're only going to be recording those moments that you think are going to be important. Remember, you don't have to capture every moment. It's just about capturing some significant moments and ones that you consider to be important. And this is something that, you know, any person who is looking to edit a video, whether they're professional or amateur, needs to consider. Now, if you're doing a fly-on-the-wall documentary, then you're going to want to film a lot of stuff. And there's a whole sort of genre called cinema verity, which is based around filming a lot of footage and then editing from it. But that's not really important when we're talking about filming our adventures on a mountain bike or a kayak, or going climbing or hiking or whatever your chosen activity is. The same can be said for lifestyle. If you're videoing your family, you're videoing your kids, you can set things up in a way that you kind of have an idea that something's going to happen. Using the pre-record function on your camera can help in those instances where you don't know that something is going to happen, but you're going to be able to capture it, even if you might miss the moment before you press the record button. But as I said before, the important thing is to have an idea in mind before you use a camera as to what you're going to be wanting to capture, so that you can really focus on that and not have to worry about having tons and tons of useless footage at the end of the day that you have to sift through and edit. Doing all this means that the camera also doesn't get in the way of things, because one of the purposes of an action camera is to literally get out of the way. It's to mean that you can film your adventures and really not have to worry too much about setting up the camera. That's why they're so focused on POV, seeing things from your point of view and capturing things as they happen. But the minus side of that is that you can kind of get the wrong end of the stick in a way and end up recording hours and hours of footage, which puts you in that position where if you're not a video editor, you're not going to want to look through all that footage and edit it. So we need to kind of put you in a position where you can capture the moments as they happen, but not have huge amounts of footage to sift through. I am just like any of you people who don't like editing. And by that, I mean, when I'm doing adventure sports, when I'm out on the water, I don't really want to be thinking about the camera too much. I don't like the camera getting in the way. So I really control what I do and what I film. And if I take the camera on the water, I do have a strong idea of what I want to capture. I will never take the camera out kayaking if I don't have an idea of what I want to do. And you'll find this for any person who is a professional or semi-professional. They won't use a camera and just film willy-nilly. They will always have a vision in their head as to what they want to achieve at the end of the day. And any person who is a casual user of a camera can take this on board and understand that you don't have to take the camera everywhere you go, but you can take it and use it to capture moments that are important, and that will save you a whole load of hassle when it comes to editing and putting it out on social media, or even if you're just keeping that footage for yourself for posterity. So I hope this has been helpful to people who have maybe been bought an action camera for Christmas, or have been bought, they've bought an action camera in the past. They haven't really used it too much because they've been so phobic about, editing and that sort of thing. Having purpose is something that does seem very obvious. And I know viewers of this channel who are camera users on a day-to-day basis will think this is very obvious advice, but it's surprising how often I see people who are casual users of cameras and, it's not obvious advice. So I hope this has helped somewhat and sort of put into perspective that using an action camera to film your adventures needn't be a chore. It can be fun if you focus how you use the camera.